What if I told you one of rugby league's most decorated coaches, a man who's led clubs to glory and battled through controversy, was suddenly shown the door in a move that shocked players, fans, and rivals alike? Yes, you heard that right. Des Hasler, fired. But why did it happen, who pulled the trigger, and what happens next? Stick with me, because this story goes deeper than anyone expected. Transition, strong call to action? Before we dive in, make sure you hit that subscribe button and join our community here on Aussie NRL Updates. We bring you the biggest breaking news, the stories behind the headlines, and the drama that shapes our game. The whispers had been swirling for weeks, but nobody thought it would come to this. Des Hasler, one of the most recognizable figures in NRL coaching, had faced pressure before. He'd been on the chopping block, he'd clashed with boards, and he'd survived. But this time, survival wasn't in the cards. The news broke in the middle of the week. Short, sharp, and stunning, Des Hasler terminated as head coach. Fans were blindsided. Media scrambled. Players were left questioning their future. How did it come to this? Behind closed doors, things had been boiling. Reports surfaced of fractured relationships between Hasler and senior management. Player unrest was bubbling, and the club's board felt results no longer justified his reign. But here's the twist: was this decision purely about football, or was there something more sinister at play? To understand the weight of this firing, you have to understand who Des Hasler is. Hasler isn't just another coach. He's an NRL institution. As a player, he was tough, uncompromising, and relentless. As a coach, he became a master tactician, the kind of figure who could squeeze success out of squads many had written off. 2 premierships as a coach with Manly. Grand final appearances with the Bulldogs. Countless finals campaigns. He wasn't just coaching, he was shaping the DNA of clubs. Fans adored his grit, and players admired his passion. He was the kind of leader you loved in your corner, and feared if you crossed. So, when a man like that gets fired, you know there's more to the story. This wasn't just a football decision, it was a power struggle. Insiders reveal that Hasler and the club's hierarchy had been butting heads for months. Recruitment decisions, player retention strategies, even game style, everything became a battleground. Tensions hit a boiling point when key signings slipped away. Promises made to Hasler about squad building weren't delivered. And when results didn't come quickly enough, the board pointed fingers. But here's the cliffhanger: did Hasler lose the dressing room, or did the board lose Hasler? Some reports suggest senior players backed their coach until the bitter end. Others claim factions were forming, with younger players frustrated by old-school methods. Whatever the truth, one thing was clear. The cracks couldn't be patched any longer. When word got out that Hasler had been shown the door, chaos followed. Fans split down the middle, some furious, calling it a betrayal of a club legend, others relieved, insisting fresh blood was needed. Social media erupted. Players posted cryptic messages, some thanking Des for his leadership, others eerily silent. Rival clubs started circling, already plotting how they could lure Hasler into their systems. And that's when the rumors began. Was Des already in talks with another club? Could he make a shock return with a team desperate for his experience? Or, here's the real bombshell, was this the end of his coaching career altogether? Behind all the headlines and hot takes, let's not forget, this is a man's career, his life's work. Hasler poured decades into the game. He lived and breathed rugby league. To be pushed out like this, it cuts deeper than most can imagine. Sources close to Hasler say he was blindsided. He expected tough conversations, maybe ultimatums, but outright termination? That wasn't on his radar. For someone so deeply woven into the fabric of the sport, it's not just a job lost, it's identity shaken. Here's the twist nobody's talking about: this firing doesn't just impact Hasler, it sends shockwaves across the NRL. Rival coaches are now on notice. If Des, with his record, can be dumped, then no one's safe. Clubs struggling at the bottom will smell opportunity, an elite coach suddenly available. And perhaps most crucially, players loyal to Hasler might start asking themselves, Do I really want to stay here? This isn't just one man leaving a post. This is the kind of move that can reshape an entire club's trajectory for years to come. So here's where we're at: Des Hasler, a giant of the game, shown the door in brutal fashion. Fans stunned. Players divided. The NRL buzzing with speculation. But the burning question remains, what's next for Des Hasler? Does he walk away from the game for good? Does he plot revenge with a rival club? Or could he shock everyone with a left-field move nobody saw coming? Stick around, because in part 2 we're diving deep into Hasler's future, the secret conversations already happening behind the scenes, and the domino effect this could unleash across the entire NRL. And remember, this is Aussie NRL Updates. If you're new here, make sure you subscribe, because the second half of this story is where the real drama unfolds. In part 1, we broke down the shocking news of Des Hasler being fired, the battles behind closed doors, the fallout among fans and players, and the legacy at stake. But that's only half the story. Now, the burning question on every fan's mind is, what happens next for Hasler, the club, and the NRL as a whole? Get ready, because this is where the drama explodes. Within hours of Hasler's departure, the rumor mill went into overdrive. Journalists, ex-players, insiders, all speculating about his next move. Some whispers suggested immediate talks with rival clubs desperate for a turnaround. A struggling bottom 4 team supposedly placed a call within 24 hours, testing the waters to see if Des would even consider jumping ship. Others floated the idea of Hasler moving into a high-performance or advisory role, lending his tactical mind to a fresh generation of coaches. But here's the kicker: friends close to Hasler said he wasn't ready to fade quietly into the background. No. Des was angry, motivated, and determined to prove a point. Here's where things get juicy. One rival club executive reportedly said, if Hasler's on the market, we'd be crazy not to at least have a conversation. Think about it, bringing in Hasler wouldn't just boost performance, it would be a psychological blow to the club that sacked him. Imagine Des returning with a new team and knocking his old club out of finals contention. The headlines would write themselves. But which clubs are in the mix? Some insiders point to Sydney-based sides that value Hasler's proven big-game mentality. Others whisper about Queensland outfits looking for a fresh edge. And then there's always the wild card: could Hasler head overseas to the Super League and make a new empire there? The fallout doesn't stop with Des. The moment a coach like him is shown the door, players start questioning their futures. Some veterans reportedly considered requesting releases. Younger stars, who saw Hasler as a mentor, were left rattled. Player managers began fielding calls, testing if their clients might find better homes elsewhere. And here's where it gets really interesting: if Hasler signs with another club, will a group of loyal players follow him? History shows it happens all the time. Coaches carry influence, and Des has plenty of soldiers willing to march with him. This could trigger one of the biggest player shuffles in recent seasons. From the club's perspective, this wasn't just about ending Hasler's reign. It was about taking a gamble on the future. They believe new leadership can spark results, that younger coaching minds can modernize the style, and that moving away from Hasler's old-school toughness will appeal to the next generation. But here's the cliffhanger: what if it backfires? Imagine if the new coach struggles. Imagine if the fanbase turns hostile. Imagine if Des, from the sidelines, builds a contender elsewhere and makes his old club regret the decision. This isn't just a firing. It's a high stake. Roll of the dice with reputations, millions of dollars, and entire seasons on the line. Let's pause for a moment and focus on Des Hasler the person, not just the coach. This is a man who's lived rugby league for decades. He's seen it all: triumphs, scandals, sackings, and glory days. He's been doubted before, and every single time, he's found a way back. Friends describe him as stubborn but fiercely loyal. Enemies describe him as ruthless but brilliant. One thing's certain: Hasler doesn't walk away quietly. In his own words, after a previous sacking, it's not about how hard you get hit. It's about getting back up and proving people wrong. Sound familiar? That's the same mindset driving him now. You can't talk about this saga without mentioning the fans. Supporters were split, some furious at the board for disrespecting a legend, others arguing the game had moved past him. Talkback radio lit up with callers defending Hasler. Social media hashtags trended. Petitions even circulated online demanding the club reinstate him. This isn't just football, it's tribal, it's emotional, and it shows how deeply Des Hasler has embedded himself into the culture of the NRL. But fan pressure only goes so far. Once a board makes its move, there's usually no turning back. So, what happens now? Let's break down the 3 most likely scenarios. The most likely outcome. He's too good, too experienced, and too competitive to sit idle for long. Rival clubs in crisis will see him as the perfect fix. The Super League in England has a history of welcoming Aussie coaches. Hasler's style could dominate abroad, and he'd have the freedom to rebuild his reputation away from Sydney headlines. Less likely, but not impossible. Coaching takes its toll. Maybe Des decides he's done enough, and focuses on life beyond football. But for a man this driven, retirement doesn't feel like the ending. Which one will it be? That's the million-dollar question. Hasler's firing isn't an isolated event. It reflects a bigger truth about the modern NRL: patience is gone, loyalty is fragile, and results are everything. Coaches live in a world where one bad season can end a career. Boards want instant success, sponsors want trophies, and fans want finals football. In that environment, even legends like Des Hasler can be cut loose. It's brutal. But it's also the reality of today's game. As the dust settles, all eyes are on Hasler. Will he rise again and prove the board wrong? Will he reinvent himself somewhere else? Or will his story end as one of the great what ifs of rugby league? Whatever happens, one thing's certain: this saga is far from over. And that's where we'll leave it for now. The firing of Des Hasler isn't just another headline, it's a seismic moment in rugby league history. The next chapter could reshape clubs, careers, and the very landscape of the NRL. Make sure you hit subscribe, because here at Aussie NRL Updates we'll be following every twist and turn of this story.